Hello, students. It is time to talk about social insurance programs. So, this particular presentation really kind of highlights the hallmark of the social insurance programs that are part of our national system. Um, they have some issues, but they also have been pretty innovative in terms of just kind of the notions of what has gone into the thoughts and the processes for looking at how we do a better job of keeping people out of poverty, as well as taking care of our older and disabled individuals. So, without any further ado, let's do it. All right, so we know that the social insurance is a cornerstone of U.S. welfare policy. So, this is kind of it in a nutshell. Um, the system is by and large paid for by the people themselves through payroll, deduction of other taxes, and it is designed to protect people against indigence and economic issues and retirement, job loss, disability, and death of a breadwinner. So it's really looking at, how do we make sure that people are able to continue to survive if these issues happen in the course of their lifetime. And Social Security is the big one that everyone has heard about. The Social Security Act of 1935 kind of put peace in play, but it happened around the time when our country was really struggling in terms of the Great Depression and really kind of kicked the U.S. government into the social welfare game in terms of taking care of its citizens. So they're held in trust, and so the taxpayer dollars that you and I pay in actually go into a trust fund, which is then invested into various treasury securities, and the interest helps to pay for the ongoing folks who are receiving those particular benefits. So, and in 2013, give you an idea how much money we're talking about, the Social Security Trust Fund actually earned $103 billion just in interest. So, sounds like a lot of money, but there's some other issues that we'll talk about a little bit later as well. So now, unlike Social Security, we do have another set of programs, public assistance programs, and they're means tested and based on need, as well as they constitute a safety net to ensure the citizens receive at least basic services and don't fall deeper into poverty. So when we think about it at the state level, you've got TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, AFDC, which was formerly AFDC, food stamps. Those are programs that are really need-based and really designed to kind of keep people afloat. So food stamps, or should I say SNAP, are what some of those programs actually look like. And again, 1935 kind of was the kickoff. And so out of the Social Security Act drew these other programs, the SSI, DI, HI, disabilities insurance, supplemental security income, the OA survivors disability insurance, unemployment insurance, workers' compensation, Medicare, and Medicaid are all forms of social insurance that working folks have titled or entitled to. Um, the other thing we need to keep in mind in terms of the social insurance piece is that unlike private annuities, workers draw where you just invest some money into a 401k and then you start to draw off what you invested. Social Security benefits are paid off by today's workers rather than the retirees. So you and I, when we pay our taxes, our Social Security taxes, when it's deducted from our payroll, it's actually paying for the current retirees now. So it's an interesting system, but it's a way to kind of perpetuate itself. And then these old age survivors disability insurance benefits are an entitlement based on beneficiaries' earnings rather than the amount of revenue in the trust fund. So it's about what you paid in will determine what you're able to actually get out of that particular process. So Social Security, as we know and we've been hearing for years, has some good stuff that happens for it, and then it has some stuff that's not so good. So we need to be mindful of that. And so it's probably the most successful anti-poverty program ever developed in this country. It supports millions of survivors and deceased workers. It elevates the burden of children supporting destitute and retired parents. So, we've got systems in place so that our parents will be taken care of. Some of the cons are that the Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system, and it's kind of depending on birth rates and longevity. which determines the solvency. So we have people who are having kids who work and will pay into the system, which will take care of the current retirees. The only problem is that there are a couple of problems. One, the birth rate in the United States is decreasing, so people are not having as many children as they normally have in past years. And so again, those are the people who are going to be paying into the system to take care of some of us when we retire. But if there are fewer of them, there'll be fewer dollars to pay in. And then the other end of the spectrum is that the recipients, due to improvements in medical technology and medical care, are actually living longer. So people aren't dying sooner, and the longer these benefits are lifetime benefits. Once you're made eligibility and you're there, you can be on until you're 100 or more. But with more people living longer and fewer people paying in, you can see where at some point money is going to become a significant issue. So when we start to look at the other forms of social insurance, we have unemployment insurance, which basically is looking at two parts. You've got 26 weeks of funding and federal extended funding benefits for additional 13 to 20 weeks. And so it's basically designed to look at people who have lost jobs, and the eligibility is being ready to be unemployed, being willing to go to work, registered a state employment agency, and making sure that you were covered during the period of eligibility. So there are taxes taken out to cover unemployment compensation, and you pay in. And if you end up by no fault of your own losing job, then you would more than likely be eligible to receive those benefits to keep you afloat. Then we also have these other aspects of the social insurance, and then we've got Medicare, which is federally health insurance for the aged. We pay for that now. Medicare, which is actually federal and state assistance for the poor, so people who are just too poor to actually qualify. And then workers' compensation, which provides rehabilitation services, disability, and death benefits for dependents. So these are literally all of your social insurance programs. And so you'll be hearing a lot more about them, even as you are a social worker and kind of entering into the work world. These are things that are important, or it should be important. And I think it's important for us as social workers to continue to lobby to ensure that these particular programs remain solvent, because they're going to all impact us in some form or fashion in our future. If we live long enough and we work long enough, it'll become an issue for us. So making sure that we do what we can to make sure that these programs are around, because they are valuable and they are very well needed.